Welcome to our latest episode of Tied In Talks. In this episode, we are joined by Spencer Davis, the General Manager for Titan Brooks EMEA. Welcome, Spencer. Thank you for once again joining us on Tied In Talks.
No problem, Jeremy. Always a pleasure to be here, sir.
Outstanding. And, just for our followers who listened back in October, when we had our last podcast, they may recall that you mentioned you were to return in the new year. And as promised, today you were going to dig in a little deeper into some of the initiatives that you were working on. So, I'm eager to definitely hear about that. And I guess we can jump right in with the Tied In Green program.
Yeah, for sure. That's gathering a lot of pace now, the Tied In Green program. We did touch on it back in October. But now obviously we've got 2 or 3 airlines which have gone through tests and gone through trials. It's been very successful. We're really excited to start putting them programs into place with them now. So sort of like going back from the start regarding Tied In Green and how that all come about is that we wanted to look at a sustainability program for the airlines that made a lot more sense rather than, following the route of the biodegradable pellets that go into security seals or potentially a sugarcane based seal or bamboo. There's so many different variants now, of the idea green. Now,
right.
If you look at green, as a product, it's okay to put these additional parts or, products within a security seal, but the biggest problem is it still requires the customer to do something, whether that's airlines, whether that's retail, freight logistics, etc. Everyone needs to get on board with a green program or a sustainability program. Now, with airlines in general, most of those now are looking for the net zero by 2025. So just to have a security seal, which is basically saying, okay, we're going to put an additive inside, which basically means it's going to biodegrade, upwards of 45 years sooner than a traditional seal. You're sort of leading the customer down a garden path slightly because it still requires that customer to do something. Now, we've had competition saying it's okay. You could break the seal. You can throw it on the floor. It's naturally going to biodegrade. Therefore, this will be a good solution for you guys in moving forward. Now, from an environmental standpoint, that ticks the box, saying, yes, okay, we are purchasing a biodegradable seal, but it still means that you need to do something with it. Now, by putting a biosphere potential pellet inside the product, you've still got to go to a controlled landfill site. So with a controlled landfill site, it basically means that there's chemicals within the soil which will break down the plastic a lot faster than a traditional plastic seal with nothing in there at all.
Got it.
The biggest problem is, though, Jeremy, is that it's the collection of the plastic parts which would go into natural waste, i.e. bins around certain locations. So they won't necessarily be collected anyway. So they're going to find themselves in natural landfill. Now, with natural landfill, as you know, that's not controlled. The biggest problem is with a controlled landfill site is it costs a lot more money. Whereas if you take it to a natural waste site, it's free. So, you've got to sort of like look at the balances involved. So with us, what we decided to do is not take that approach, is we decided to come up with a reusable bag solution. The security seals would be collected. They'd get placed in a bag. Okay. The bag then goes into an octobin. So once the items inside the bag get poured into an octobin, the octobin basically gets collected. It goes back to it'd be more like a sustainable site in terms of it's got to go to regrind. So once the pellets go back into regrind, from there, you can then send out the regrind to certain companies, which they would change the properties of that plastic into something else, which then they add a black additive into it. And as what we're now doing is looking at manufacturing alternative products. So we would manufacture, working with partners, school desks. Those school desks would go into Ghana, for instance, or places around the world which would do our help or need our help. So charitable donations, for instance, and we could help companies like airlines achieve this by basically taking the plastic waste out, regrinding it, and turning it into something completely different.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously highly rewarding and making a difference. Now, our second initiative, the Titan Track, as I understand it, is a web application for authorized users designed to streamline the process of ordering our security seals.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this was derived from many of our customers having multiple outstations. Now, the biggest problem with multiple outstations is if you've got a central hub, for instance, and there's the purchasing connection is based in the UK. Now, if he or she is in control of all of the outstations, which could be in Europe, in the US, etc., and they're controlling all of the spend, all of the seals out in the out in the ether, so to speak, is how can somebody in Poland, for instance, communicate with the UK in such a way, or vice versa? The guy in the UK is basically saying, okay, can you let me know when you're going to run low on security seals? And then basically we can put a restock program in for you. So why Titan Track was created is basically to give the responsible person, i.e. the distributor or the distribution center, authority to put an order through as and when they require it, send it back through to the purchasing department, which again could be in the UK, and then they authorize the order, and then in turn that order then comes through to us to replenish. So that way the permission then is on the user of the product rather than the purchaser, so to speak, to always remember to order the seals to the outstations or the distribution centers.
Outstanding. So people aren't forgetting to reorder and put that onus on multiple people. It really simplifies the ordering process and, increases productivity.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because I mean, the thing is if I'm sitting there as, the head of purchasing, yes, I know that my company purchases, 4.5 million seals per annum. Do I know where they go? Yes. Okay. Do I know the frequency? Yeah, I sort of know the frequency, but what tends to happen in our industry is that you'll find one of these outstations that almost runs out of seals, or have got half a box of seals left. Then they go, oh, we need to order some security seals. Okay, no problem. We'll speak to head of purchasing, get that ordered, and then we'll get them through. So, as I said, the biggest problem is the head of purchasing won't necessarily know the usage. So if they do run low on security seals, it gives the permission back to the outstation to purchase the seals. It goes through to the purchasing team, which isn't a problem. They approve the order. That order then comes through to us, and then we can send it through. So by doing that, it speeds, absolutely, Jeremy, it speeds the whole process up. And then on top of that, what we can also do within our system is we can actually allocate the security seal numbers to the outstation. So by doing that, it stops any internal collusion. Yes. So if, for instance, if you've got seal 1, 2, 3, 4 turn up in, North America somewhere. So if we're looking at North America, it goes through to Chicago. Okay. How come this seal's turned up in Chicago, 1, 2, 3, 4? We can then look at the purchasing modules and say, right, okay, that seal though was allocated over in, somewhere at Spain, Barcelona, for instance. Okay. So that seal's moved from A to B. It's been opened up over in Chicago. Now we've got a security risk. So, but we can actually work out where the seal was ordered and where the seal was originally delivered to.
Yeah, that's that chain of custody that we're always working towards in that track and trace. And again, we're taking the work out of trying to figure that out with this, because who ordered it? Where was it? How come it ended up there? This solves all those problems and simplifies that.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. Number control is so important. I think people and, companies don't necessarily understand that. Yes, they see a number, but that number's associated to, paperwork, but it's also associated to the destination from where that seal's come from, et cetera, et cetera. So, there's plenty of people out there, if they can get their hands on 10 security seals, put them in their pocket, move those seals around to another destination and think, I'll keep them handy for another time. Yeah. So it's so important to keep track and trace of the security numbers all of the time. And I think by using Titan Track, not only will it help anyone do that from any place in the world, because you think now is that there's a lot of people now working from home. They've got databases. If they can track and trace their security seals online and where they've gone to and where the destination is, it makes life a lot easier for everyone involved.
Exactly. And now is fully functional, or is there a way that any customer, any industry could contact you to get this set up? Where would you guide people to?
Oh, yeah, it's up and running now. We've got customers already using the database. We've got customers taking advantage of this, all of the time. So obviously myself, no problem, spencer.davis@tidenbrooks.com. Email straight through to myself regarding, even if you want to set it up as a trial, we can do that. We can set the trial base up within a week. So if any customers on a global basis want to set up a trial using TidenTrack, we're more than ready to help them.
Outstanding. Yeah. And I think it's clear, that our solutions are continuing to deliver value, obviously making it more secure, more productive. And the green program is making healthier place for the world. So it's nice that we're contributing in multiple areas. So I was going to say, I'm confident that later in the year, we're going to, have another chat. I think we were discussing about maybe catching up in maybe May about the WTCE for the airline show. So I look forward to talking about that. Was there anything you wanted to share on that right now? I thought there was an article that's coming out in one of the airline magazines.
Yeah, well, so that's definitely going to be coming out in the next few weeks. We're just putting through a few interviews at the moment. So TidenTrack and the Green Initiatives, they're both going to be pride and place at WTCE. So we can speak to customers about that as well there. So yeah, we're really excited about that.
Thanks again, Spencer. I always appreciate you, joining us and sharing all these progressive programs that you're putting in motion in EMEA. And I look forward to speaking to you in probably, I think in maybe May time, because I think the show is at mid-June. What was the dates on the WTCE?
Yeah, so that's going to be, I think, early June. It's been changed a couple of times. I think it got changed because of COVID. So hopefully, yes, it's going to be early June for WTCE, and then back in 24, it's going to revert back to its natural position, which will be back into, I think it's a month prior. So it's going to be basically early April.
Outstanding. Well, look, thank you again, and look forward to talking to you in May. And to our listeners, kindly like and follow our podcast on your favorite platforms. If you wish to learn more about TidenBrooks, we're of course on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And please also take a moment to review our websites at tidenbrooks.com and tidenbrooks.uk.